Alright, let's talk about Diablo 4 Season 14. I will try to be brief, but there are a couple of points that I already written down while I was playing the game. Let's start with server stability. Compared to the last season, which was Season 13, server stability has been slightly improved. I say slightly because I still experience rubber banding, server lag, all that kind of stuff. And you can actually see that in my footage that I recorded. It is annoying, yes, but credit where credit is due. It's better than it was before. I did try to turn off crossplay, and I put everything as low as it can go when it comes to graphical settings, because again, who cares about graphics in Diablo 4? And I'm getting the same results. So if you have the same problems like I have, well, there is not much you can actually do. And if you don't, well, I'm very happy for you. That's all I can say about that matter. Now, the major talking point for this particular season is all about mythics, which is the second point that I'm going to discuss today. You see, this mythic situation is the perfect analog how Blizzard thinks. They basically think that by changing something that people wanted all this time will actually make the game better, but at the same time, they're taking the fun away from the game. And then what happens is you have worse situation than it was previously the case. Also, if you have been reading certain news about Blizzard and what people in Blizzard were talking about, once you realize that they tuned the season in a way that they have more player engagement, as in that the people are going to play the game longer, then it actually makes sense why they changed the things with mythics the way that it was changed. For starters, you can craft only one mythic item, and that would be amazing. You would basically craft a build-defining mythic and try to find others, but then you are hit with these bullshit things. Number one, if you find a perfect unique, that doesn't really matter because once you put it in the cube and craft a mythic version of it, everything reshuffles. You had 4 GAs on that unique? Well, not anymore, you don't. All the stats were as perfect as they can be. Well, tough luck because everything reshuffles again. And finally, you found this amazing unique with all these amazing stats and GAs and you put it in a cube and the result is something completely different. Yes, that's actually a thing. You put one unique in the cube and you end up having completely different one. Obviously within same class, so if you put a dagger, you always get a dagger, but it's not going to be one unique that you put, is going to be something completely different. And this pretty much tells you what they want. They just want to drag the game as much as they can, because no sane person would do this. If you are a regular player, when you find something awesome and you want to upgrade it to be 30% more powerful, never in your head would there be a situation where you're gonna say something along the lines like, why should I have the same? I should have something completely different as an output of this crafting that I perform in the Horadric Cube. Which brings me to my next realization when it comes to these mythics. Either the situation was done on purpose, like I already explained, or it was done out of sheer stupidity. And to be fair, which one of these choices is worse, I cannot really tell. I suppose the one that was done intentionally is the worst one, because the one that comes out of stupidity, you can actually change it. It's as simple as that. And this whole mythic situation brings me to my next point, which is all about build diversity. Just think about this. If every unique can become mythic, then nothing really feels special anymore. Previously, mythics had very distinct identities, but now I just feel the game is moving towards every build chasing max roll mythic versions, you get less excitement when a mythic drops, and you have fewer memorable items. Yes, I can understand that before this change everyone was rocking Helm of Perdition, or Shaco or Grandfather, but at the end of the day, if you wanted your build to be, let's say, more distinct, you still had to chase that unique that is build defining, especially if you wanted to empower it with additional GAs. And speaking about build diversity, it's still shit. When you look at various tier lists, you can clearly see that the same class, which is Barbarian, is still OP even though it got nerfed. And I myself was playing Barbarian last season, but I got sick of it, so I wanted to try something else. So what else can you choose that could feel relatively interesting and fresh and does decent amount of damage? Well, that's basically Rogue. Because picking Paladin or Warlock You're just gonna suffer so much, and I don't know who wants to slog through this game, particularly when, and this is my next point, you are very limited when it comes making alts. Obviously, I'm speaking about no account-wide progression for war plans, and this by far is the dumbest thing that I've ever seen in a game. And the reason is very simple. The whole game, or rather the game systems, are orientated towards you making as many alts as you can possibly make, particularly because you can skip the campaign and jump into the endgame as fast as you can blink. But now, that's not the thing anymore, because why would I ever slog to another war plan grind just so I can try another class? To me, that makes no sense whatsoever. And that's why I went with a safe choice this season, which is the Rogue, because I have zero plans to play another character. I mean, the potential ult situation for me is limited as is due to the fact that all other classes feel like shit. So I can either play Barbarian, which I already did, like I said, or I can play the Rogue. And when you think about this, if they want this engagement so much, wouldn't it be better if I can make several characters? I mean, you would win so much if the war plan progress was account-wide. And yes, I would even accept if we only get half of the XP for the alts. But it's still better than nothing. I don't understand, man. This just boggles my mind so much. And again, like many people have said before, this is 100% proof that these people do not play their own game. Because if they did play their own game, they would never do stupid shit like this. But again, I don't think developers have a say how they're going to make the game, it's more of the higher-ups. And that's even more sad because you are essentially a prisoner in your own body, because every sane person, when they look at these changes that they have introduced, they would immediately recoil and say, no, this is bullshit. But it is what it is, and that's why we have Diablo 4 in the state that we have right now. And it's fucking sad, let me tell you that. Right, next point that I wanted to raise is all about QOL changes. Now, quality of life stuff is amazing, don't get me wrong. Stuff like we can finally see all the chests that you can open in Nightmare Dungeons. But then, we have this situation. What the hell happened with the protective bubble when you complete the pit run? I mean, what's the deal with that? It worked perfectly fine in the past, and now it got removed for whatever reason. Like, why? Why is that a thing? Why do I need to clear everything within fucking 3-mile radius in order for me to interact with that thing to upgrade my glyphs? Why did they get rid of this? And basically this is the situation. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It's completely insane. You fix one thing and then you break or remove the other thing. I don't know, man. I just do not understand their line of thinking. One would think that the protective bubble would stay, but apparently that's not the case anymore. Absolutely mental. Now, the next point is all about the season or the season mechanic. There isn't any, let's be real. Everything is basically recycled content from the past seasons. You have this Realm Walker 2.0, which is essentially old Realm Walker, but this time he just stands in one place. So I guess you made some kind of improvement, but that's about it. It's the same mechanic. Same thing goes with that reward chest. You farm 20 tiers, and then essentially it's just perpetual farm for more loot. Now, I wouldn't say no to more loot, let's be clear about that particular thing, but this thing feels so washed, so lame, so uninspiring. I don't know, I just felt that maybe there's going to be some kind of another system, but sadly that's not the case. Next thing that the season brings are these ruptures, and I'm sort of conflicted about them. I do like them in Helltide because I think that's the best place to do all kinds of mayhem, but then these things are spawning in Pit and in Nightmare Dungeons, and I'm like, why? Don't you know what's the point of these two endgame systems? You're supposed to rush through them as fast as possible to get to the end so you can farm, again, war plan progression. But for some strange reason, these things are spawning inside Nightmare Dungeons and the Pit, and to be honest, I'm just ignoring them. Yes, maybe you can get more progression in the Pit while you are doing them, but if you are paired with a certain elite that does floor AoE, which definitely you cannot stand in it for a very long time because you're gonna get one-shot, then I would just abandon them and go to the next pit. I don't know, it would have been much better if these tears or ruptures would be killable instead of me standing inside a circle in the pit, but I reckon that's just my wishful thinking that someone would actually recognize how people play the pit, because apparently Blizzard doesn't. Also, I've been reading online that they're going to change situation with mythics, but to me that's even freaking worse. Because if you need community to tell you that this system is ass, and it's easily to see, I mean, you just play the game and you see what happens, why do I need to wait every freaking season for them to put some kind of a fix or patch in order for us to play the game like we should play it, effortlessly, without any bullshit happening because Blizzard has zero common sense? Do I really have the incentive to go back and play the game after I completed my seasonal journey? Just because they figured out that the changes they have introduced are so dumb that they need to scramble so fast in order to fix it just to salvage the season? Because let me tell you, I fucking don't. It's all about first impressions here. First 7 days is what defines the season, whether or not it's going to be good or bad. And if you haven't nailed that initially, then what's the point? What am I supposed to get now that I wasted all my resources because I thought that I need to gear myself as fast as possible in the most efficient way, only for someone to say, look guys, don't do anything with your mythic uniques, we're going to fix this, just be patient. This is the worst thing that has been happening to the Diablo 4 seasons forever. And the quality of the stuff that they're pushing is so freaking low. Not to mention, they have the PTR. And again, I have been reading that people were telling them certain changes are bad, but they still went along with the initial idea. So why would I waste my time to tell Blizzard that things are bad when they're going to do whatever they want in the first place? And not to mention, I'm not getting paid to point out their shortcomings. What's the freaking point anyway? It just boggles my mind how we have Season 13, which was pretty good, and then we end up with Season 14. No fixes for the major things that didn't work in Season 13, and then we get fixes that nobody asked for, which are making the game even worse. And then obviously lackluster season, which again, I'm not surprised, because if you want a proper season, I guess you need to wait a year or two in order for them to release the new expansion, and then everything is like, oh my god, fireworks, puppies, and all that shit. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, I am done with this season, and in my book, it is a disappointment for several reasons. No account-wide war plans, ridiculous mythic change, weak seasonal theme, removal of the things that worked really good, almost non-existent build diversity, and finally lack of class balance. So essentially, from Season 13 to Season 14, Blizzard did 1 step forward and 37 steps backwards. I don't know how they are doing it, is it on purpose or it's something like spontaneous? But this actually needs to be studied because I didn't even know that this was possible. But apparently it is. And this is where I'm going to end my review because yes, I can talk about all other things that's happening in the game that's not really amazing. Like for example leaderboards still being shit because again, no build diversity. But I think I'm going to stop here. The only advice that I can give to people who want to play Diablo 4 Season 14 is don't. If you can, wait for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. Because that's essentially what's happening with these seasons. Blizzard makes a bad move, then they're scrambling fast to fix it, and then probably the situation is going to be fixed so you can go and play and enjoy yourself. But for now, like I said, stay away from this. There isn't anything interesting to see in this particular season. It's just going to be a waste of your time. Also, go play Barbarian or Rogue because every other class, with certain exceptions of course, is going to feel like ass. And trust me, you really don't want to have an experience when you are struggling in order to clear certain content, while the other classes with shitty gear can clear it much more faster and effortlessly. And that's basically it. That's my review of Diablo 4 Season 14. What an absolute fucking joke. If you managed to get this far, let me know in the comments what you think about this whole situation. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And that's it from me. Until the next one.